Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. So in this video we're going to discuss lists in R, and this is what we're going to cover. We're going to see how we can make lists, how we can be able to access some of the data elements that are contained in a list, and finally we're going to see how we are going to update, change or modify any data that is contained in a list. So let's get started. So what is a list? A list is a vector containing elements of different data types. Now in the previous video we discussed about vectors, and we say that vectors, they contain only a single data type. So that means if it is numeric, it's numeric. But here we're seeing that a list, it can contain different data types. So it's like a vector with different data types. So we're going to see a variety of ways that we can create lists, and one of the ways that we're going to see, which is most used, is the list function. And next we're going to cover on how we can access some components. We are going to use the integer index and the character index. Those are the two main that we're going to use to access lists. So how are we going to modify a list? To modify a list, we're also going to see how we can change an element. We're going to see how we can add a new element to a list, how we can delete one, and then we're also going to see how to name list. So let's go to RStudio. So make sure that you have created, you open your project folder, and then you make sure that you create a new file, new R script called list. So let us create lists. Let us start with creating a list. So we're going to use the list function. So let's call this list 1, and then we assign it. So we're going to list 1. So this is how you define it. The first thing, you define the name of the first element in that list, and then we're going to assign it a number like 10. The second one is y. We can give it like false, and then finally z. We can give it a character. So let's see how this looks like. How does it look like? So this is our first list. So this is the first element. This is the name of the first element, and this is the first element or data. This is the name of the second data, and this is the data, and finally this is the name of the third data, and this is the data itself. So that's how we create a list in R. So we can also look at the structure of the list using the str function, and this is a function that you're going to be using very frequently when you're dealing with data sets. Looking at the structure of 1, is going to give us tell us that the first one, which is the y, it is a numeric. Second one is logical, and finally the third one is list. You can also look at the type of the object, and as you can see that this is a list. So we can also create another list but having different lengths. That means a list, it doesn't really have to have the same length of each object, but they can also have different lengths. So we can define, like I can call this one A. We're going to have 1 to 5. B, we can give it like it's a string. We can call this apple, banana, and then finally the last one, we can just consider it to be a vector also of logical. Oh, sorry, let's call it a list 2. So let's see how it looks like. So as you can see, the first data element in this list, of course it has a name of A, and it has a length of 5. The second one, B, it has a length of 2, and finally the third one has a length of 2. So objects in a list, the data elements in a list, they don't have to be of the same length. They can be of different Then similar to this one, you can look at the structure of the list 2. Then we can see we have integer, character, and logical. So let's go to the next part, whereby we're going to see how to accessing data elements, from a list, So we've successfully created our elements, our list, I mean. So what if we wanted to access some of the information? How can we do that? So we can do that first by using the integer index. So let's try and work with list 2. So list 2 is going to have this. So we can try and access the third element, the third data element. So how can we do that? We're going to do list 2, and then you put a number 3. So it's going to give us the third data element. So it gives us the name and the data it contains. So if you want to access the first one, as I had told you earlier, in R indexes start from 1, 2. So this is going to be 1, 2, and finally 3. So what if instead of just accessing, because list 3 is just giving me the whole of this, so it's giving me the name of the data element and the data it contains. What if I wanted to access only this data here? What am I going to do? So this is what you can do. List 2 brackets, and you have 3, and we have accessed the data elements of the third data in that list. Another alternative that you can use apart from using this, you can just say list 2, then you put that, and since we want the third one, which is C, it's going to return the same thing. So these two, you can either use them depending on which one you mostly like using. So another way you can use it to access data is using the character. So how do we do that? So we have accessed the data elements from different lists. What if we want to access the same data but using the name of the of each object in that list? So to access the same data, that is to access the same data from this part, you can just come and say list 2, then you put that, and I want to access 3, so I'm going to say C. So you're going to have this the same thing as running this one here. They're just the same thing because they return the same kind of information. What if I wanted to access a specific, maybe this first value, or I want to access this second value? So what am I going to do? So remember from the first part, we say that when you access this, you're accessing the entire object, that is this first part, the name of the object and the data that it contains. What if I want to access the data only without the name? So you just come and say list 2, then you put those two, then you put C, and you're going to access this. So what if I want to access, now we're going to access this one. So to access that one, this is in index number 1 and this is index number 2. So just do that 1, and you access the first element of that list. So you can just try and play around with those because you're going to be using them a lot. So we want us to proceed forward and move to the modify data elements. So for you to modify specific data elements, you have to be able to know how to access those data elements. That's where we had to first study how we're going to access them. So looking at list number 2, what if I wanted to change this apple and banana into caps lock. How am I going to do that? First thing, we need to access them. So how do we access them? We're going to do list2 like that, and then we're going to say, you can say either 2 or let's just use this B. But remember, when you run this, you're going to access these two, but I want to access them individually. So to access them individually, since I want to access both of them, is from 1 to 2. 1 to 2, so that when run that, it's going to return that. But I want to change these two to caps lock. So how are we going to do that? So we assign that to Apple, of course Apple. This is the first one, and then banana, and then banana. So let's see if that change has been implemented. Yeah, as you can see, we have managed to change them uh, from small letters up to capital letters. So that's how you modify your data. What if you wanted to maybe change this into different numbers apart from 1, 2, 3? Maybe you want to make it like 10, 20, 30 or something like that. So how are you going to do that? You also have to just know how to access them. So you're going to access it A, and then now I want to access from 1 up to 5 because that's the length. Then you're going to have something like 10, 20, 30, 40, and then finally 50. And then when you look at our list2, you're going to see that we have changed it. It has been changed. So finally guys, not finally, but let's go to the next part, whereby what if I want to add a data element, so let's clear this down. In case you're wondering how to clear this, you just press Control L, and it's going to clear. So let's look at list2. What if we have only three data elements in that list? So what if I want to add the third one? How am I going to do that? So we're going to do list2, and then I'm going to name it. The name, I'm going to give it a name of D. Then I'm going to give it like a number 400. And then let's see if that has happened. As you can see, we have successfully added a new data element into that object. So what if I want to add more data into this specific element? So you're just going to do list2, and then you access that. But since I want to the second one, because I don't have the data, if I put 1, I'm going to change this 400 into that number. So I put 2 because I want to add a new one. I'll just say 100, and then when you run list2, you're going to have this. So it has successfully been changed. So what if guys, you want to delete a data element? How are you going to do that? So to delete is actually very easy, it's not hard. This is how you're going to delete it. You just have to access it. Let's say we want to access list2. I want to delete, let's see what you're going to delete. I want to delete this third one here, this logical stuff. So we're just going to access it. You can access it either using the name. Let's access it using the integer. And then once you have accessed it, just going to assign it to a value null. And then let's look at list2, see if it has been deleted. As you can see guys, it has been successfully deleted. We have successfully deleted this third part. So finally guys, the last thing that I want to talk about is I want to just show you the easiest way that you can use, and you can use, instead of just typing the whole thing, this whole thing, there's actually a shortcut that you can use. So in R we have something we called search paths. We have something in R we call search paths. So everything that is loaded here is going to be shown there. So I want to add I can see list 1 is list 2 is already there. So I want to add list 1 to my list to the search path. I can see list 2 is already there. So to add it, we're going to use the attach function. Attach list 1. Once you've attached that, when you look at the search path, it should be added to the list. So now we have list 1 and list 2. So for me to access information, like let's say for example, instead of typing this whole thing here, now let's see list 2. What does list 2 have? List 2, it has A, B. So for me to access A, you can just type A. Like this one, to access this one, number 3, it's of course it's A, B, D. So to access D, just type D. Since it's already in the search path, it's going to return that. And then if I want the first part, I can just do that. It's going to give me. So if you attach something to the search path, it's going to be automatically be added into it so that you don't have to type these things. And if you want to remove it, you're just going to use the detach list 2. It has already been detached, and then we'll look at search path. It's no longer there. So guys, thank you very much for joining me. If you're new, let's just like, share and subscribe. You can also leave a comment, guys. Thank you and see you in the next video.